welcome into Beyond the Box Score here, Connor and Cole from the kitchen of our new estate here on Hughes Avenue in Buffalo, New York. Welcome in. We're going to talk some football. I mean, week one. No, can't get any better than that. It's football season, Connor. It's great to be a part.
We talk about it all the time. One of the best times of the year, especially when September and October roll around. The weather starts to change. It's not as hot, not as muggy. You got football just starting. Hockey's right around the corner. You got playoff baseball starting. Everything is coming full circle, and life is good again. Unless you're a Buffalo Bills fan. But we'll get to that. But football has started, so this episode will mainly revolve around week one of the NFL. Going to keep it kind of brief. So, Cole, let's jump right into it. We'll start with the Thursday night game. We had the defending Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, taking on the Atlanta Falcons, and this was kind of one of the more boring games we've seen kick off an NFL season. Sitting here watching it here at the apartment, it was head-scratching. A lot of penalties, a lot of flags, not a lot of action. Except it came down to the wire. That was the only good thing about that game, really.
I mean, I'm not going to say it was boring. I don't think it was a boring football game. It was exciting, but it was just sloppy. Both sides very sloppy.
You could definitely tell it was week one.
Yes, and really the only really good football part I saw was the Eagles' defense. And that's what carried them last season, especially late in the playoffs with Nick Foles as the quarterback, even though he played great. But that Eagles' defense, they're tough. They grind. They just go at you. They just have that thing. They have that thing inside them. They got after Matt Ryan and made him look terrible.
Yeah, you know, I said it immediately after the game. If the Eagles' defense could hold Matt Ryan and company to only 12 points and still win a game where Nick Foles did not look like Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles, and if they can go out and beat the Falcons, what are they going to do when Carson Wentz comes back? I mean, Nelson Aguilar, was a big part of that offense in that Week 1 game. Jay Ajayi with 2 rushing touchdowns. He was a big part. Darren Sproles out of the backfield receiving passes from Nick Foles. But, you know, it wasn't really the same offense that we saw last year, mainly because Carson Wentz was out. But, you know, again, like you said, that defense was unreal, holding the Falcons only 12 points. So definitely that's going to be a big part going down the stretch. And honestly, and I told you there's no reason why, and I even told, shout out Kyle, I texted him after the game, there's no reason why they should go 14-2. Because if their defense can play like this, even with a bad Nick Foles week 1, I think that they need to go at least 14-2.
That's a stretch. In the division they play in, that's a tough game. This is a division that, yes, they're overall the best team in that division, but it's the NFC East, a division that has had a different division winner every year since the mid-2000s, around 2005-06, I believe. And they're going to lose a couple of them. So, I don't know. Maybe 13-3 is going to be my ceiling for them. 14-2, I don't know. In that division, that's tough. But
all right, we're going to move on now.
One second, though. That game, Connor, I told you during the game, that was a carbon copy of the playoff game last season when they played. It's kind of sloppy. It was low score.
Yeah.
Went down to the end, and the Falcons had a last-second shot at the end zone. Couldn't get it done.
Yeah, they had trouble finding Julio in the red zone. They
want
Julio run wild on the rest of the field, but except for that, in the red zone, they could not find Julio, and that's something that, you know, Matt Ryan, that offense needs to do a better job of creating schemes, creating plays, where Julio is going to get open in the red zone. I mean, you got a big wide receiver, probably one of the best playmakers in the NFL, next to Antonio Brown and OBJ. You need to draw up something for him to get open in the red zone. But moving on, I'm going to skip over the Bills and Ravens because I just saw this, like, they have little headlines underneath every single final score. And we're going to go to the Steelers and the Browns game. And for the highlight, it says, Browns 0-1, best start since 2004.
Oh, my.
So they didn't get the win. Cleveland does not get their free beer, I believe, out of the respective bars in Cleveland. But this was a barn burner. I didn't get to watch most of the games. Saw some of the highlights on the NFL Network. But we were joking around about it when you were on the phone with your father the other night, and I told him that the Browns were going to beat the Steelers, and they came pretty close to sealing the deal. I mean, Tyrod Taylor threw a late pick. They couldn't move the ball downfield. I believe both teams missed field, unless Pittsburgh missed field goals. Pittsburgh, I know for a fact, missed a field goal to win it.
And so did Cleveland.
Yeah.
But it got blocked. But the thing about this game, Connor, is that the Steelers looked like they started. The Browns stuck with them in the first half. Then towards the midway through the second half, the Steelers looked like they were running away with it, and they went up 21-7. They had a couple great drives in a row where Ben actually looked decent outside of his 5 interceptions, and out of nowhere, Cleveland just turned it up. They went to another level, brought it within 1 score, and then got a turnover, got the ball back, and on a strip sack, and oh my God, that catch by Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon is back.
Yeah,
Josh Gordon is back, and that was a phenomenal play in the end zone, ties the game up, and then Steelers had 2 chances to win it, couldn't get either of them done. Ben threw a pick, and they missed a field goal. And then Cleveland had their shot, and it got blocked by Mr. T.J. Watt.
He had a monster game. I believe 4 sacks, blocked field goal.
Little Watt. He might be better than...
If he can stay healthy, his brother has been plagued with the injury bug multiple times, which is so sad to see because he's a great guy on and off the field. Very fun player to watch. He's a monster. But moving on, we're going to talk about this in a little bit when we get to our next segment. But the Bills and Ravens, not really much you can talk about this game. I was very thankful I was working the Medina women's soccer game, so I did not have to watch this dumpster fire. Going into the game, I said that this is going to be the one game that the Bills are going to look outstanding in, and then it's going to give every single fan in Buffalo false hope, and then that's when they're going to fall off a little bit. I don't trust Nate Peterman. Going in, I know last show I said that if the Bills were going to give Peterman a chance, and if they believed that this was the right move, then I'm going to stick with it, because if they believe that this is the right move for the organization, then every other fan and everybody on that team should believe, if the coaching staff and the front office believes that's the right move. But obviously, that didn't play out. Peterman putting up stat lines for his first couple games going back to last year and then this game this year is almost the worst quarterback stat lines in recent memory.
Might be ever.
Yeah,
and I think on a pro sports level, Nathan Peterman just died.
Yeah,
Nathan Peterman is dead.
We're going to talk about this later. I don't want to get too in-depth with it now because I want to move on to our next segment, and I want to just run through these games real quick. The Bengals pulling one out against the Colts, 34-23. Andrew Luck's first game back had a career-high 39 completions for 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, but did throw a pick. Bengals with a very late scoop and score that went like 90 yards to seal the deal in this game. But this is a game that I didn't get too much to watch of. I don't know if you watched it. But
bits and pieces.
That's basically what I did too. All I know is Joe Mixon had a very good game.
Yeah, I'm a little upset. I wanted to see Andrew Luck come out there for Indy and win a game, and I mean, he had a good game, but he also took a big hit. I got nervous for a bit, and we'll talk about that more when we talk about the Packers game, but we almost saw 2 of our favorite NFL players, faces of the quarterbacks in our league, that almost went down again. 2 guys who have been plagued with injury.
And we'll talk about that. Titans and Dolphins. This game was delayed a little bit due to inclement weather in Miami. But the Dolphins ended up coming out on top 27-20. This is probably one of the only games of the day that I really didn't see anything of. So I don't really know much to say about it. But I think the Dolphins kind of surprised a lot of people in the league. I know Mariota did not play up to full expectations. I know that was an issue. But Delaney Walker going down, that's not good for Tennessee.
Yeah, that game right there single-handedly might be the Titans' season right there. They played terrible. Mariota looked bad. Delaney Walker goes down, probably out for the year. And Dolphins just... The Dolphins played a heck of a much better game than Tennessee did. And it was different. It was a weird game. It started at 1 o'clock and didn't finish till after all the 4 o'clock games did. There was 2 different delays. But, I don't know. The Dolphins definitely did surprise me. I'm sure they surprised everyone else. And if the Dolphins can play like they did their week 1 there, they have a shot at just at least just being relevant come Thanksgiving, early December.
That's the one thing that I think at the beginning of the season, that's one thing that should be every team's first priority, is being relevant at Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to already be out of contention come Thanksgiving. Everybody wants to be fighting for something come Thanksgiving. And then from there, it's a playoff spot. From there, it's division. And from there, it's that first round, or clinching home field advantage. And then from there, it's just winning games in the postseason. Now, moving on, we had the 49ers and Vikings. The Vikings came out on top 24-16. Garoppolo's first career loss as a starter. And I'm already going to sneak peek at this of what our next segment is going to be about panicking or being patient. This is something that I think the 49ers cannot panic about. They faced a very good Vikings team, who I say could be probably one of the best teams in the NFC, if not the best team in the NFC. The Vikings defense is just outstanding. But for Marquise Goodwin to go down for the 49ers early and not really see any more action until, again, the third quarter, but he didn't get a single reception on the game. Marquise Goodwin is a guy that me and you were talking about that we think could be a really big impact player for the 49ers going down the stretch. He's a guy who can stretch the field, catch quick passes inside on slants, but the big thing here is he can stretch the field for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that's a tough loss right there too. If they can make sure he's healthy, get Marquise back, and 49ers could make some hay, and we talked about that.
They definitely could make some noise in the NFC, but we need to see this.
In the West, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to Texans and Patriots. Patriots just get this one out, winning 27-20 over Deshaun Watson's return. Again, something we're going to talk about later. Don't want to get too in-depth about it. But one of the biggest shockers of the day was the Buccaneers beating the Saints 48-40. The highest scoring opener in Super Bowl era. Who would have thought it would have been the Saints and the Buccaneers?
Yeah, you go from a terrible, sloppy Thursday night game, which we expected points, didn't get it, and Bucs and Saints put up combined 88 points, and this was just a catch-up game for the Saints. They're playing catch-up the entire way. The Buccaneers got off to a fiery start. Ryan Fitzpatrick's throwing the ball all over the field, looking like an MVP, and for the Saints, it's tough because this was my Super Bowl pick. This was my NFC team going into the year, and that right now they still are. It's week 1, and I don't think anyone needs to worry about what's happening. But the Saints, I mean, you still have Drew Brees there. Kamara went off.
Kamara did go off, but not with the rushing game. It was more the passing game. That's definitely
we
something we expected it. We saw it last year when he debuted.
It's all about the Saints' defense at this point. If they can pick it up, they'll be okay.
Moving on, we got the Jags and the Giants. Cole, the Jags beating your G-men 20-15. Real quick, what are your thoughts?
Well, the Giants had several opportunities to take the lead, win this game, and they did not make it happen. The Jags squandered a bit, especially Fournette went to the locker room, left the game, left T.J. Yeldon there in the backfield, and the Giants' defense stepped up at the end, but the one thing that killed them, that pick 6 off the tip ball, Myles Jack ran it back. That was the turning point. The Giants could have made another turning point. They started to come back. They had a chance to win it and then muff a punt to end the game. And I was fully confident they could have scored. There's still 50 seconds left for Eli Manning to do his thing.
Moving on, the Chiefs and Chargers. The Chiefs winning 38-28. Tyreek Hill blew up. And
Patty Mahomes.
Yeah, I don't think any of us really expected Mahomes to go off like how he did. And that's something that I think we're going to have to look forward to moving down the stretch. If he can be legit in this league, then the Chiefs are going to be a force to reckon with.
Yes, if Mahomes plays like that all season, the Chiefs win that division easy.
And it's almost a real big pat on the back to that front office of the organization for moving on from Alex Smith, knowing that potentially they made the very right decision. And if Mahomes can keep playing like this, then they can definitely give themselves a pat on the back.
Because that's a good Chargers team too.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, the Chargers have one of the best overall rosters in this league, and that's why we put them up there as winning the division as well. But if the Chiefs play like that, I don't think anyone's going to beat them.
We're going to move on real quick here, just going down the rest of them. We're going to do Redskins and Cardinals. Redskins come out on top 24-6, and then it was the Panthers and Cowboys. Panthers winning 16-8 over America's favorites. And then the Broncos and Seahawks. Broncos pulling out against the Seahawks 27-24. Bit of a head scratcher there.
Didn't expect that one.
And then last night, probably the story of Week 1 was an injured Aaron Rodgers leading the comeback against the Chicago Bears, coming out on top 24-23. And
that was precious.
With that, I want to kick off our segment that I like to call panic or patience. Basically, we're just going to go through some different scenarios that we saw week 1, and we're going to decide whether this team or organization needs to panic or whether they should just wait it out, be patient, and everything will be okay. So since we just talked about the Packers and the rest of the Cheeseheads, we will talk about them right now. Do they need to panic or be patient and just relax, take a deep breath? Aaron Rodgers went down again last night in week 1 for signing that big contract just a couple weeks ago. Do they need to panic, or do you think they'll be fine and just be patient? And do you think Aaron Rodgers will be healthy come week 2?
Well, for one, it started off very scary. I love Aaron Rodgers. He is a great quarterback, and he makes it look easy. And when he's on the field, the Packers have a chance to win every single time. And I was so scared for him and the Packers when that happened. But I think as long as it's nothing serious, because they mentioned you really could play on a partially torn something, whether it's ACL, MCL. So if it's that case, you need to be patient. Let him rest it out. Don't push it too hard. I don't think needs to be much panic. They escaped that game. I don't think they won the game, but they escaped. They got down 20-0 to a Bears team that no one expected to be anything in the NFC North. I think you just be patient with it.
I think you got to panic if you're the Packers, because if you don't have Aaron Rodgers, you saw what happened last year without Rodgers. That team was nothing without, their QB1.
Yeah.
So I think you got to panic, especially if he's hurt. I would be panicking if I was that Green Bay organization.
I want to panic though because he came back and won the game. I think he's okay.
But you never know. It could have just been adrenaline. Could have just been him running on fumes, wanting to come out and get a victory week 1.
I mean, we haven't heard anything.
We haven't heard anything. So once we hear something, obviously we can maybe calm down a little bit and make me change my mind.
If he's hurt, panic for sure, because this team probably wins 4 games if he's out. But right now, just be patient with it.
We'll stick with the injury bug here. The Panthers. Panic or be patient. Greg Olsen went down what looks like, again, will be another few weeks before he returns, injuring that same foot he had surgery on last year that he injured against the Bills in week 2. And Luke Kuechly went down with what looked like a gruesome knee injury, but he says he's fine. Statement came out saying that it was just a hyperextended knee. So panic or be patient.
Patient, because he says he's fine. I think he's going to be okay. He has had injuries in the past.
Kuechly 110% is the bigger loss here than Olsen. Olsen,
yes.
You would love to have your best tight end back in there, but they played without him last year and we're still in contention.
And Kuechly, when he's healthy, probably the best linebacker in this league.
I don't disagree with you. He's a monster. He had a monster first half and first quarter yesterday.
But the thing is with the Panthers, that if Kuechly's healthy, they have a great front 7 on the defensive side. And if Cam Newton does his thing, this arguably is Cam Newton's last chance to make something happen. Obviously, he went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but since then they haven't had a winning season. Cam Newton is very inconsistent, but if he's on his game, this Panthers team can be scary, and they could be a top pick in the NFC South, especially after seeing the Saints go down week 1. So I'm thinking, if Kuechly's hurt, maybe a little panic, but right now just be patient. I think the Panthers can make something happen.
I think Kuechly might be okay, especially with the statement he said. So I think you're right. I mean, I would be patient, let this ride out. I don't think Kuechly's anything serious, but if he is, then I would panic. But like you said, we can't really make a huge statement yet or decision until we hear the injury report, which will come out sometime this week. I'll move on. A little less injury focus here. The Cowboys, with their loss against the Panthers, sticking with the Panthers here kind of. Do you panic if you're the Cowboys already?
No. It's tough because I just mentioned the Panthers have a great front 7, and when really all you're working with is Zeke Elliott and Dak Prescott with not a lot of receivers to throw to, which could be panicky. We've been talking about it, how their receiving core is not where they want it to be, I wouldn't say. But they're still going to have a fighting chance in the NFC East. They're going to have a chance. They're going to have a shot at the wild card. Once Thanksgiving Thanksgiving comes around, I think they'll definitely be in the wild card race. But I think they'll be okay. I think that with Zeke Elliott back there, if their offensive line can play like it has the last couple years, Zeke's gonna take them places. He's gonna have the most touches rushing out of any running back this season. So it's a tough defense they went against. They only put up 8 points, but
I think you got to be patient as well if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Definitely, you don't have the supporting cast of wide receivers that you do as you did with years past, but we've seen what Dak and Zeke can do together. We've seen how dominant they can be when they're on their A game. I think it's only just a matter of time before they turn it back around. So, Seahawks losing against the Broncos. Panic or be patient?
Panic.
110%.
Panic.
Done.
I talked about
Sam.
it last week before we started the season. I said this is the downfall of Seattle. This is the 12th man going down.
Yep.
It's going from 12 to 11 and 10, and it's going down. The Seahawks I mentioned this year, they're not going to make the playoffs in the West. I think the 49ers will have a better record than them, behind the Rams winning the division. And it's going downhill. I don't know. Pete Carroll is going to be there. They lost most of their deep. The Legion of Boom is completely wiped. It's washed at this
No more
point.
Sherman.
The defense is gone.
The only
Sherman.
big time player in that secondary
Earl
still is
Thomas.
Earl Thomas. He had a pick last
And
night.
he wanted to leave.
Yeah.
He wanted to go somewhere else. So
I mean,
yes.
you look at their offense is revolving around Russell Wilson in the passing game.
Yes.
You look at their running backs. You asked me 4 months ago who Chris Carson was. I would have looked at you like you had 4 heads.
Yeah.
He's on my fantasy team because he's listed as the running back 1. He got a couple touches last night. Not a great game for him. I think he only had like 50 yards, but not what they've had in the past. So you definitely, I think, got to panic if you're the Seahawks. Moving on, Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson. Do you panic with how he played last night, or do you be patient?
I'd like to say I'm 50-50 on this one. A little bit of panic because he did not look good at all. He looked really bad, especially in the first half. Picked it up a little in the second half. He looked a little more like the Watson we saw in the first 8 games last year. But I still say be patient because this is a guy who just came off. He's a second-year player coming off a knee injury and a knee surgery. I think you give him time. Give him a couple weeks. He's got a good defense and the Texans to give him the ball a lot, and I think he's still got DeAndre Hopkins to throw to. He's got Will Fuller, who he connected with great. They hooked up for 5 touchdowns in his short tenure last year. I think be patient. He did not look good, but he's also going against the Patriots.
I'm going to agree with you. We saw what he did last year, and it's going to take some time for him to get back into the swing of things. It was his first game since a very long time ago last year, so I think you just got to be patient. We already kind of talked about the Saints. Panic or be patient here. I'm going to say be patient. I think we saw that their defense can be superb. We saw them last year. Can be shaky at times, but this offense, I mean, putting up 40 points, all you need is to ask your defense to not give up 48 again, and I think they'll be fine. I'm going to keep this one brief.
I saw a stat. The Saints have started 0-2 every year since 2014, including last year when they made a great run to the playoffs and were one play away from being in the NFC title game. And so I don't panic at all. This is very patient. It's week 1. And that's why it's kind of tough here to say panic sometime because it's only week 1. There's still 16 weeks left. 4 months. So
this is why this is our
things will be
very
okay.
preliminary but yet fun
very-
panic or
yes.
patience.
Yes.
You know, it's always fun to kind of overanalyze things that happened week 1. We got two more teams left. Steelers, panic or be patient. Do they need Le'Veon Bell and his Big Ben over the hill?
See, and that's yes.
Tell your dad to check in to about the 25-minute mark.
Hate saying panic, but panic.
I think you panic.
Because the Steelers, they look terrible. And like I mentioned, they started to run away with it in the third quarter, and then they just let it go. They had 6 turnovers, 5 Big Ben picks. Last time we saw him throw 5 picks
was 4.
He threw 5 picks. Because 1 in overtime.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, last time he did that was
last
Chicago.
time he did that was against
Chicago.
Oh, I was gonna say it was Jacksonville last year. He threw 5 picks as well.
I thought he threw 5 picks against Chicago.
Huge loss. I don't know, but Big Ben looked not good. And is he over the hill? He might be. I mean, he said he was going to retire after last year. He comes back. Is it just that one extra season that he can't? Again, it's week 1. We'll see what happens. Connor thinks he's done.
I think without Le'Veon too, we saw James Conner emerge last night, but who knows how long that's going to keep up for. We've seen guys in the past who have had to take over for starters. They have a couple good dominant weeks, but then they'll just fall off. So I don't know if James Conner can keep this train rolling.
I don't know. Could be the next Jay Ajayi.
That's what I was going to say.
Very relevant, scoring touchdowns for the Eagles, and he came.
But he's not rushing. He's not rushing for 200 yards, for 3 straight weeks like he did 2 years ago. And the last one, finally, I get to talk about it. The Bills, panic or patience? I'll let you start it. I'll close it.
I mean, panic because you just lost 47-3 on opening day, where you have Nathan Peterman starting, who looked terrible once again, and then you have to bring in Josh Allen, your rookie, who you said you didn't want to start right away, and he's already being thrown into the fire in week 1, which we'll see if that is going to be beneficial or it's sometimes that ruins guys if they get thrown in way too early. I think Josh Allen might be okay. I am a Josh Allen believer. He's got a great arm. I think he's a smart kid. I think Josh Allen will be okay, but for right now, the Bills, the way they looked yesterday, this team might get 3 wins this season. And that's the thing. I don't know if you call it a panic or patience. If you want to be patient with it and ride to a 3-13 season, all right. If you want to call that patience, but it's going to be a long season if you do that. If you panic, you've got to make something happen quick.
If Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane believe that this team can win, you need to panic right now and not start Peterman again. We talked about this on our premiere episode, where if you're going to move up in the draft within the first 15 spots of the NFL draft, you need to make sure that guy you're getting is NFL ready and is going to start. I understand Baker Mayfield, and I understand Josh Rosen is not starting right now. But you look at what they have, it's because Baker Mayfield is behind a quarterback who, ironically, the Bills let go, who helped lead them to the playoffs. You can say what you want about Tyrod, but Tyrod is better than any other quarterback we have on the depth chart right now. But then you look at Josh Rosen. Why is he sitting? Sam Bradford is still a proven starting quarterback. Sam Bradford has shown success. It is still a relevant quarterback that you can have Josh Rosen develop under. But you have Josh Allen. You move up to get Josh Allen and let go of your starting quarterback for the last 3 years who helped lead you to the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. He needs to start.
And start a guy who threw 5 interceptions.
He's not going to. You do not need to have him develop, grow, learn, whatever it is that you're trying to have him do as a player under Nathan Peterman, who has no more experience than he has. All right, I understand this is kind of different from what I was saying a couple weeks ago because, like I said, if they believe that Peterman actually made significant progress in the offseason and in preseason, then they obviously see something that we don't in preseason. We don't get the full access that they see in preseason. Yes, Peterman looked good in preseason, but it is preseason. But if they believe that he was more NFL game ready than Josh Allen, then that's something that Bills fans have to live with if he's the starter. But did everybody agree if it was the right move? Yes and no. Did I think it was the right move? Momentarily, I could understand yes, but then like I said, there's always that fact that Josh Allen should be starting because you moved up in the draft to get him. He's supposed to be your guy, and you do not have another quarterback now on that roster that really has any more experience than Josh Allen. He needs to start, and especially next week, facing the same team where Nate Peterman had his NFL debut and threw 5 picks in the first half, facing the Chargers. If he starts again,
Deja vu.
McBean is out of their minds if Nate Peterman is going to start under center next week for the Buffalo Bills.
It's Allen time.
I think it's Allen time, and whether he fails or succeeds, I think no matter what, Bills fans, you're going to have to be optimistic. I know it's very hard in the city of Buffalo to be optimistic about sports teams, but you're going to have to because you're going to have to go through the growing pains of a young quarterback still adjusting to NFL play. Yes, he has a strong arm, but does he make some stupid decisions? Kind of. Sometimes. He's young. It's going to happen. But the one thing that I think Allen has on Peterman is he's very agile, he's very quick, he can roll out of the pocket and run, make plays with his legs. But again, that's what people don't want in Buffalo. They just want somebody that can just stay in the pocket and sling the ball around. But with this offensive line, you need to run. I was talking with somebody yesterday. I said if Tyrod Taylor was under center last night, the Bills probably at least would have put up maybe 14 more points. They still might have gotten blown out because their defense was horrendous, but at least Tyrod Taylor could have moved the ball downfield because once he sees the pocket collapse, he could run off. But we'll never know because the Bills decided not to bring him back. That is my rant.
That is Connor's rant. Hey, speaking of that game, though, we got to see Lamar Jackson a couple plays for Baltimore.
Lamar Jackson looked good.
He came in,
and also Lamar Jackson.
In a couple packages and ran the ball.
Yes,
He came in
very interesting because especially since they said that RG3 was going to be their second
Well,
string.
he was inactive.
Oh, he was inactive. Okay.
RG3 was inactive. That's what
Like I said, I didn't get to watch the beginning of the whole game because I was too busy working the women's soccer game. By the way, shout out to them getting their first win since 2015. If any of Madai faculty, staff, or students are listening, shout out to them.
Yeah, I think that's our week 1 recap.
Week 1 recap here on Beyond the Box Score from our beautiful place of residency in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, so for our Madai podcast, stay tuned. We are supposed to have Jeff Fonson, the voice of the Mavericks, but he's busy this week. He's going out of town, so we might have him next week. So stay tuned for Wednesday. We're going to try to put on a show. Try to get somebody in with us, so see what happens.
Absolutely. Probably someone from the women's soccer team or men's soccer team. They've been rolling. But except for that, we will see you probably sometime later on this week to give you a Week 2 preview of the NFL, talk the closing stages of the MLB. A lot of fun races still to look at.
Yankees are still alive.
Yankees still alive. The Red Sox are falling with a terrible bullpen right now. But more on that to come in the near future, hopefully sometime later this week. But except for that, 2 games tonight in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Sam Darnold, baby.
Sam Darnold starting under center for the Jets against the Lions, and the Rams and the Raiders set to square off at 10:20. That's going to be a great game, I think.
I'm really excited for that game. I just hate that it's at 10:30 at night. It's going to be very hard to stay up and watch that.
I think it's either going to be a blowout or it's going to be a very good game.
It's either going to be, yes.
The Rams are going to blow out the Raiders or it's going to be a very good game.
It's going to be a tight game or the Rams are going to take control.
Absolutely.
And I'm very intrigued to see the new John Gruden era, see what happens. I'm doubting them. I was a favorite of the Raiders going into the season, but after losing Khalil Mack and just John Gruden not talking his captain linebacker for months, and then he's gone. I don't know. We'll see what Derek Carr can do. I still like that guy.
Absolutely. So we will see you next time. Check out those games tonight because there will be more to talk about later on this week. We'll see you next time on Beyond the Box Score. Thank you for tuning in.
See ya.